power of inspiration and awakening radio with Julia Griffin to master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Once you walked in a forest of splendor in which everything you did and everything you thought was aligned. It is possible at this time to begin to return to the old knowledge. Intuitive healer and manifester Julia Griffin is here to talk about this unique time in history when all sentient beings, animals, plants, trees, and the earth are intent on creating this change. The wolves awakened her to the most incredible light, which opened gifts and brought knowledge that she longs to share. You are creators, and you are born to be creators of beauty, possibility, and joy. Join Julia on a journey into a beautiful and magical world where amazing possibilities exist. Let us help open the door. The power of inspiration and awakening with Julia Griffin starts right now.
We have a really special guest today. This is Pamala Oslie. We're going to talk about the quantum field, what's happening now, what's happening in the future. But first, let me tell you about her. She is a consultant, best-selling author, visionary, professional psychic intuitive, medium, and aura expert. She's appeared on ABC, CBS, NBC, The View, Dr. Oz, The Ricky Lake Show, Hallmark's Home Channel, Coast to Coast with George Noory, Gaia with Lisa Garr, and hundreds of other television shows. She's also been featured in many national magazines. She's spoken in TED Talks and the International Forum on New Science, Fortune 500 companies, and many seminars with professionals in psychology, education, health fields, and more. She has written the successful and popular book, Life Colors, Love Colors, Make Your Dreams Come True, and her latest book, Infinite You and the Truth According to John. She was awarded the Holistic Transformational Leader of the Year Award by Global Associations of Holistic Psychotherapy and Coaching. For nearly 40 years, she's had a very extensive clientele, including many celebrities. She had the #1 show for 11 years at a popular Santa Barbara radio station, which was broadcast internationally via the internet. Pam is the founder of auracolors.com, a site designed to help you create success, joy, and fulfillment in every area of your life. She also developed lovecolors.com, designed to help you find love and friendships by matching you with people who have similar aura colors, which is very interesting. So welcome, Pam. I'm so glad to have you.
Hi, Julia. Great to see you again.
So I think I'm going to start with, for many astrologers, including myself, when the new moon appeared on April 8th, it was followed by the solar eclipse. We had many planets in Aries, and astrologically, it marked a time of opening the door into the new age and the new changes. We also had Jupiter, which is expansion and good fortune, conjunct Uranus. And these are known to be periods of positive change and spiritual growth if you want to move into it. We had, I think, 5 planets in Aries. It's a dramatic, fiery sign. It's the beginning of things. So to have this many planets in the place of beginnings with an eclipse, we were literally going through a doorway that we can now decide if we want to go through it. And it is a gateway for higher consciousness. So I'm going to ask Pam about some of her thoughts about this new age and new time.
I love that, Julia. Anything that says we are entering into a new phase, anything to me, I will align with, and to me, it's positive. I've seen a major shift. I think everybody has since COVID. There was a radical shift. I mean, it's like life has never been the same since COVID, but to me, it was very positive. So it was like during that time, almost every client that I had said, now that I'm not at my job, I can be at home. I realized I don't want to go back to my job. I don't like that. Was stressed out. I want to do what my heart and soul is telling me to do. So I think there's been a lot of different things happening since then to show that it's happened. And the fact that you, as an astrologer, because I'm not an astrologer, can see that something remarkable happened during the solar eclipse, I totally align with that. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen a total solar eclipse in person, but
I
I
have.
got to do that, yeah, in Hawaii in 91. It was one of my most profound experiences ever. I felt a major shift during that. So it doesn't surprise me at all that, especially that the fact that it happened in the States, that we had a major shift go on, because I mean, I saw people were crying. So something,
It's a peak experience because
yeah.
you realize at that point you're living literally on a planet who can turn herself on and off.
Yeah, yeah. I had no idea. I mean, again, I was in Hawaii to see this. I had no idea that the sun and the moon were that big. We just take it for granted that they're up there, but during that experience, it was moving. So I think it's very telling that it happened in the States, you know.
Second time.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I have always wanted to see the Northern Lights. And of course, they were here last weekend.
Yeah.
I
We've had
always thought I'll never get to see them because I don't like cold places, but I wish I could.
ah, it
Well,
was
they just came to me.
yeah, see, that's so the fact that we've had this many cosmic events going on in such a short period of time, definitely. Well, I know that there's been a shift. We're in the shift. Things are
We're
already.
definitely in it.
I love hearing you say that that was a remarkable time and it actually opened even more of a door. It's like, bring it on.
And we have that Uranus Jupiter conjunction throughout the year. And so that means if we really give ourselves over to opening up, to awakening, which I'll say this in a simple way, meditate, connect with the universe, and be more of who you really are. And it goes back to what you were saying about 2020. We are not meant to go like robots all day long, and we need to be listening when our body is tired. I mean, animals all nap during the day, don't they? Yeah. You don't just push and push. You eat when you're hungry, you rest when you're tired. It's such a simple thing, but we've gotten divorced from it.
Yeah. I think we as a mass consciousness planned, we came here at this time to go through this shift, to
Mhm,
remarkable change in consciousness, to elevate the consciousness. And I mean, we can get into it later, but I've been shown from the other side, I'm sure you have, the remarkable changes that are happening, but that are still ahead. I mean, huge
mhm.
changes that are still ahead. So it's exciting.
It's very exciting. That's probably what I think it's what people like you and me who have always been interested in spiritual things. It's like it's a time we've waited for most of our lives.
Yeah. Anyone that's listening to this right now, anyone on the planet, you came here for this time, for
Hmm.
this big time. And anytime there's change, usually chaos goes with it, and resistance goes with it, and fear goes with it, because people don't always like change. But just like what you said, if you embrace it, you step into it, you embrace, for it, it's a huge opening. It's a huge transformation.
And I think another good thing is if you are meditating and doing inner work, if you get overwhelmed or you get tense, if you meditate or step back from it or go outside, you'll find that you get right back to your inner self much more quickly than before.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that we make it simple. People go into fear, they get into overwhelm and look at all the massive negative stuff that's going on out there right now. They get into fear and overwhelm. It's like, no, 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 don't do that. One of the things I'm doing in my life right now that's really helping is simplifying. It's really simplifying and letting it be easy and going and flowing into it instead of trying to paddle against the stream and go, no, 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 I'm not ready yet. No, 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 I can't have
Well,
it. Things are ahead.
I think people go into what about me as opposed to moving into love and light and realizing that when enough of us get to that vibration, all these things that they're so worried about will transform or disappear.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Big stuff is happening, Julia. We know that.
And that's really what I keep thinking is that if the vibration gets loud enough and big enough, it will change,
Yeah.
just like it does in our own lives when we go deeply enough into it.
Yeah. Do you want to know what I've been shown from the other side?
Oh, of course I do.
Oh, good, because cool stuff. Um, First of all, I'll lead up to this and then I'll share the bigger things and then we can go beyond that, whatever you want to do.
Sure.
One of the things I did is I asked guidance. I mean, when I say the other side, it's like not the physical, it's like beyond the physical. I get guidance there most of the time because that's where
Mm.
it feels like I get the higher truth. Anyway, I was concerned. I went, why is it so divisive out there? Why is it, them against us and blue and red and this, different countries and different religions? Why is it so polarized right now? Why is it so divided? And this is cool, Julia. I feel like I've had this conversation with you before. I must talk to you in my sleep or something.
Well, we
Anyway,
definitely commune.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, they showed me a cell, a single cell. They said when it's getting ready to grow, it divides. And then it divides again and it divides again, not to go off into different directions, but to become something bigger, something greater. And so I went, oh, that's what's happening. So it's like somehow we're emerging as to something bigger, greater. So that was cool. So that was one of the first images they showed me. Then the second one is I went, wow, it feels like we're going backwards. I mean, it's like we're losing rights and women's rights. And I'm not a political person, but it felt like things were going backwards. And I went, what is happening? And Julia, they showed me a slingshot. They showed me getting pulled back and
Mhm.
back, back and back. And then when it lets go, it's going to fly forward so fast, it'll make our heads spin. So that made me feel better too. I go, okay, all right. So what we're dealing with old stuff, old consciousness, old fears, old, patterns, whatever. But the pulling back, when it finally flies, we're going to shift really quickly.
Well, very fast. When you first awaken, it's like you step into this beautiful world of love and light that is so overwhelming. And then you step back into your own life and you're like, I thought all this was fine and it doesn't work for me anymore. Oh no, what am I going to do? And for a time period, you go back and forth. And then at some point, you decide you really don't care what you have to give up or what you have to change. And that may be part of why everything is so divided.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of the things they showed me is that we are entering into a new renaissance. And they showed me that we had done this before. God, do I feel like I've talked to you about this before? That is so weird. We must
I
connect.
know. I'm having the same feeling. Maybe we talk to each other in our sleep.
Yeah, probably. Anyway, they showed me that we've done this before, but this one's different. So they said way back when we had the fall of the Roman Empire. Then we had the Dark Ages where we had a pandemic. We had the Black Death
Right.
pandemic during the Dark Ages. And during the Dark Ages, everyone was like, that was it. Everyone was dying. They couldn't see anything beyond that time. They thought basically life was over. But what emerged out of that, Julia, was the Renaissance. It was a brand new art, philosophy, beauty, music. The printing press showed up, so there was more mass communication. People had more access to it, and Newtonian physics emerged during that time. That was before that it wasn't. So Newtonian physics basically said the world wasn't flat, that we weren't the center of the universe anymore. It was like all kinds of differences, different understandings showed up with the advent or the emergence of Newtonian physics, which is basically just Newton, so that people don't go, what's Newtonian physics? It basically said that the world is a big machine. But now what's emerging, and look, we just had the pandemic, right? Looks like everything's falling apart again. People are having a hard time seeing future other than doom and gloom. But what's emerging is a new renaissance. And they're telling me that the new renaissance is going to be based on quantum physics, which is basically energy and consciousness. That's basically what quantum physics, you can have all forms of it, whatever we non-local mind, entanglement, parallel universes, all of that. But still, it boils down to the bottom line of consciousness and energy. So, and we're already seeing the advent of that. All our technology is based on quantum physics, right? So AI, they're going to have to start defining, with AI coming up, they're going to have to start defining what consciousness is, because they've been ignoring it. They don't know what it is. The old physics basically says that the brain creates consciousness, but they can't prove that. They don't have any evidence. It doesn't show any evidence for that. Quantum physics basically, it's non-local mind, so consciousness is everywhere. It's non-local, it's not localized in there. So it's going to radically change everything. And some of the stuff they showed me, you already touched on part of this, Julie, at the beginning. We weren't meant to be slaves. We weren't meant to work in things that we don't like. It's making us unhappy and stressed out. We're being slaves to the dollar, to money. We've turned money into a god. And so we're working just to survive. And that's not what we're meant to do. That's not how we created this. So what they're showing me, and I don't know how this is going to happen or when it's going to happen, but they showed me the whole system's going to change. We won't be working for money anymore. No one's going to have to work. We're going to do what we love to do, what our souls are called to do. So people who want to be artists can be artists. Musicians, they can do that. If they want to grow food, they can do that, but we won't have to worry about money. The whole money thing's already starting to change with the advent of cryptocurrency, all
Right.
that. And it's like they're mining it out of nothing, right?
Hmm.
Like, wow. So that's going to change the whole idea of government is going to change. And they didn't give me details on this one, but they did show me this. Before we had kings, right? There were kings running everything, and everyone else
Right.
was just slaves and peasants. Then democracy emerged, which is like, wow, where did that come from? Where everybody got to, be part of the governing by. So anyway, democracy emerged. So what's going to emerge next? They didn't show me, but they did say we don't know what we don't know yet. And my sense is, Julia, because we're waking up, is that we're going to be going into self-dominion.
I
We're
think so too.
really going to be so advanced with our consciousness. We already know right from wrong. Money's not going to run the thing. So people don't need to do crimes and steal and burglarize and all that bit. We're going to be so self-realized that it's basically will govern the planet will be run on basically souls walking the earth instead of just little biological machines and slaves.
I
So,
had a dream about it a long time ago that I was sort of in a rural place and I was with friends and, we were walking from one another's houses because we had time to do it. But there was one person who had painted on clothing, and there was another person, like you're saying, who had done this or that. And it wasn't how much you were making, it was how much are you creating?
yeah, that's it. We're all going to be creating what it is that our souls love to do because in our souls, Julia, we're creators. We're
Hmm.
creators. That's what we do. We're creating all of this. And so we can stop creating the nightmare. We're going to learn how to create the heaven on earth, paradise, go back to the garden, right? So
Hmm.
it sounds impractical, but I'm guessing that democracy sounded impractical to those people, living under a king's rulership, which I find interesting because it feels like there's a lot of that duality or polarity going on the planet right now.
There is, and a lot of people seem to want it. I will say one thing, at least about the United States, and that is that I can see like energy and power lines. So I'll give people an example that they can understand. In San Francisco, the power energy underneath it is moving away. So you see a city kind of cave in. It's not what it was. Well, if that's happening with the big cities where there's government, what will that do to everything
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
if there's not an energy source for it?
Yeah. And it's all changing and we're seeing it. So I want to encourage people not to be afraid of what looks like it's got collapse or falling apart or going backwards to king or, autocracy, whatever. It's like, no, it's just the elevating. We're shifting. We're shifting. And like you said at the beginning, we have a choice. We have,
Yeah,
which at some point you let me know when you want to start talking about parallel universes. Because
we'll get there. I was going to say about earth changes. I
okay.
want people to stop worrying and visualize the kind of weather that you need in your area, say 30 miles around you. Don't worry about the rest of it. The planet has to change just like we have to change. When we awaken, we have bumps, and there are days we don't feel good or things don't go as well. And then we have other times when everything goes really well until we learn how to even out. And the planet's awakening with us. So that's a lot of the changes you see. My roses came out in February, which that's normally the month that I clip them back. My amaryllises, though, probably are not going to bloom till the end of May, and they usually bloom the 1st of April. So everything is changing. Don't get too upset about it.
Yeah. And we're all connected. So I see that a lot of the fires we had and the storms and the hurricanes and the floods and the tornadoes, it's all connected with our consciousness too. People get really angry or they get really scared or whatever. It affects nature. I mean, we're all connected. It's all life. It's all a living consciousness. So it's reflecting. Seriously, I saw so many people angry, and then we had all these fires. See so many people stressed out, and then it's like an emotion, flooding, tears, grief. That's all water. So it is being affected by our consciousness, by our emotions, by our what we're doing and thinking and feeling.
And people don't realize that and sadness tend to make it rain a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is all connected. We're all connected. It's all, I mean, quantum physics is even discovering that it's all connected, that it's one big living system.
I think though people will be surprised if they will envision really beautiful weather and rains at the right time around themselves and how much better their lives become. Because if you're seeing harmony and you're working on having harmonious emotions, you'll be amazed.
Did I ever tell you my Hawaii story and the weather?
It rained everywhere but where you were.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the pilot, when we were landing, said it's going to rain the whole week, and I went, no, not on my vacation. So I envisioned blue sky and warm weather and went out the next day on the beach, and it was blue sky and warm weather on my beach. And then people started coming in onto my beach and said it was raining everywhere on the island except for my beach.
I did that once when I was camping. It was so cold and we were in Florida. I just said, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and it's going to be one of the most beautiful days I've ever seen. And it was like, we went from 50 to 78.
Yeah. Yeah. So people, they're afraid of control because it's not a control thing. It's a creation thing. Just like
Mhm.
what I said earlier, if you think you have to control something, then you're trying to fight something that you think exists or overcome it. It's not controlling. It's creating, it's manifesting, it's
Flowing into the harmony that already exists.
yes, yes. It's creating from within to the without experience.
And why not move into the harmony and experience a better life? Shouldn't we all do that? Okay, so go ahead and tell us a little bit about the parallel universes.
Okay. And we haven't had this conversation before, huh, Julie?
I don't know. I guess we'll see as we go along.
So weird. Well, they're saying everything exists at once. There's no time. So I guess that on some level we've had this conversation.
I
So
guess we practiced all this before.
there you go. There you go. So anyway, well, and there might be new people listening, so it's okay. One of the things that quantum physics is saying is that parallel universes of the multiverse is real. They have evidence of that. Now, as soon as I heard that, as soon as I discovered that from a book that I read, I went, well, if that's real, we should be able to use those to our benefit, just like when they discovered aerodynamics. Who knew we could fly? So, and we've used that to our benefit. It's improved our lives, well, for the most part, right? It's made everything
Yeah.
easier. We don't have to travel in covered wagons across the country and you can see in 4 or 5 hours, right? Um, anyway, so when basically what parallel universes are saying is that there's an infinite number of you, right? There's an infinite number of parallel universes, and you, as a grander soul, are having all these experiences simultaneously. And the one that you're experiencing is the one that you believe in. So this is how strange this is, and then I'll make it in lay terms so that people can understand really what this is. They're saying, Julie, there might be a you today that decided to wear white and another you that decided to wear a different color, right?
Right.
Well, one version of you, one real aspect of you from your greater soul went off today wearing white and is having a whole different experience. And then is wearing, what the color is you're wearing today, right?
Right.
Your minimum. And so you don't really know that there's two versions of you having experiences today because we've been taught that there's only one reality, one universe, just like we were taught there was only one continent, one planet, one galaxy, one solar system. It's like, no. So now they're saying there's infinite number of universes too. So the lay way to understand this, I find easier. Right now in the room you're in, Julia, there's at least 10 radio stations broadcasting around you, right? You don't know about any of them because you're not tuned into the frequency. So it's all
Right.
about energy and frequency. So if you go to your radio, your tuner, and you change it to 101, you're going to hear the music, the talk, the program that's coming out of that. That becomes your reality, right? Now, if you
Right.
change the channel over to 99, now there's different music, different talk, different program. That becomes your reality. Well, the 101 is still happening around you. You just aren't aware of it because you're not tuned into that vibration, that frequency. So that's how this works. So we already know how. That's why I think technology is helping us understand this greater consciousness. We already know if you already know if you don't like a movie that you're watching on TV, you can change the channel. You change
Mm-hmm.
the frequency. It's a different program. It's a different show, or a song that you're listening to on the radio. You don't like it, you can change the frequency, the channel, and you get a whole different experience, right?
Right.
Don't know that we can do that with our lives because, again, we've been told there's only one universe, one reality, and you're stuck in it and you have no say over it. And maybe you can change things a little bit, but you have to work really hard or whatever. It's like, no, the way you change the frequency is you change your thoughts, your beliefs, and your emotions, right? Because emotions are energy in motion, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you change and one of the ways to do it is use your imagination, change what you're thinking about. That'll change how you're feeling. Whatever you focus on is going to increase. But whenever you focus on and you have the emotional energy on, makes you feel better, whatever, that becomes your reality. So one of the more dramatic ways that I did this,
Mm-hmm.
people know, is 40 years ago now. I fell in love with this guy, musician. Just went, oh my gosh, that's my guy. That's who I'm supposed to be with my whole life. And he wanted nothing to do with me. First of all, he doesn't like blondes. I was way blonde at that point.
Mm-hmm.
He was a musician, didn't want to get involved with anyone. No way. I'm not attracted to you. Not going to happen. And I live on the West Coast. I live in Santa Barbara. He picked up and moved to the East Coast to be in a band there. I was devastated. I was like, oh my gosh. And 2 years later is when I started reading about and learning about parallel universes. And I went, well, if there's parallel universes, there's got to be at least one universe where we're together. So I'm choosing to go into that universe. So what I did was I went into a quiet meditation and I imagined, now I'm very visual, so I imagined parting a membrane apart, right? I don't have to do that anymore. I know how to do it now. So I just shift my thoughts and my frequency, my emotions, and everything changes. So in that lifetime, though, I noticed that we're going to call it Universe One. I didn't have,
Right.
I felt unlovable. I felt unattractive. I felt like I wasn't good enough for him. I felt like he wasn't going to ever fall in love with me or want to be with me. That was Universe One. And I went, well, I don't like this one. Okay. So I imagined parting a universe, parting a membrane going into universe number two. And in that one, I saw he was still on the East Coast. He liked the band he was with. He liked some girl he was dating. So I went, well, I can't pull him away from that. I would feel guilty. So
Mm-hmm.
I went into another one and I went into another one and I went into, we're going to call it universe number 5. And in that one, I felt it in every cell in my body, Julia. It was just as real as universe number 1. I could feel the sun on my body. I could feel the grass on my feet. I could smell the air. I knew that was a real universe, just as real as number 1. So in that one, I witnessed him giving notice to the band that he was with, breaking up with whatever girl he was seeing at the time. He was going to go to Iowa to see his meditating friends. He was going to go to Los Angeles to see his rock and roll friends. And he was going to come back to Santa Barbara and we were going to be together. And I felt it in every cell in my body, but I also felt that he did love me and he missed me and he was attracted to me. I felt all of that in universe number 5. It was completely different. I didn't have to control him. I didn't have to change how he's feeling. I didn't have to stalk him. I didn't have to do any of that, right? I changed my perception and my beliefs. And I also had to change my beliefs about him. I had to see him differently. But in universe number 5, that's how I saw he was. So anyway, now remember, it had been 2 years and I hadn't talked to him.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks later, I called him up. Why not? I mean, in that universe, I knew he missed me. He loved me and we were great. So I called him up and I said, how are you doing? What's new? And he said, well, 2 weeks ago, I gave notice to the band. I'm going to stop seeing this girl. I'm going to Iowa. I'm going to Los Angeles and I'm coming back to Santa Barbara. We have been hanging out now for over 40 years. We've been together for over 40 years. Now it's like, wow. And again, I didn't stalk him. People go, well, yeah, no, I didn't. I changed universes. Now here's the trippy thing. One of them, in universe number 1, all my girlfriends were single and complaining that there were no good guys. They want to get married. They want to have children. They're all complaining about it. After I did this meditation and I went into universe number 5, All my girlfriends were getting married or having kids or whatever. They
Mhm.
had changed also. It was completely different. So
Right.
it changed radically everything in my life.
Okay, so let me do a recap for people who are listening. When we find that place we want to be, we need to really visualize it, really feel it, and imagine that we're living in it with new feelings, new emotions.
And to know that it's just as real as anyone else. Anything
Hmm.
else, it's real, that parallel universes are a real thing. We don't know that because there's no walls, there's no boundaries, but we flow, according to physicists, we flow in and out of other parallel universes all the time. We're just not aware of it. So every time you make a choice, a different choice, I don't care if you're walking down the street headed for a meeting and you see a coffee shop and one part goes, no, I got to get to this meeting. And the other you goes, yeah, but I want the coffee. You actually split off. One goes into the coffee, and it's that subtle and it's that radical. And some of the ways we've been able to experience them even is one, deja vu. It's like people that have deja vu, it's like, wow, this feels familiar. You're probably connecting with another one of the yous that went off on a different path, and now you're reconnecting again.
Just
Um,
as we're doing now.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just did that because I go, I feel like I've had this conversation with you again. All
Yeah.
right. So, and they said on the other side, there's no such thing as time. Everything's happening simultaneously. So
So this is a great thing for people to do who are worried about the government and the weather.
and money,
Work and
health.
money.
People have had spontaneous healings because they changed something inside and gone into another universe where the cancer's gone or their illness is gone. People just need to realize that that's a real way to do it, real thing that we're capable of doing. We're not these limited souls. We're these massive. We have an oversoul, and our souls choosing multiple experiences. So we have free will. We have infinite choices to make. And people go, yeah, but wait, doesn't he have free will? I mean, isn't this guy, doesn't he have free will? And I go, absolutely. And he's choosing free will in every single one of those universes,
Hmm.
aligned with the one that both of us in that universe chose to be with each other.
And so it's a new way of choosing for a lot of people, I think.
And expanding our awareness of who we are and what's possible. I mean, there are people that won't get on planes because they're afraid of planes. That's okay. It just limits them. There are people that still believe the earth's flat. Okay. They get to have that
Mhm.
experience. It will limit them. I mean, I've traveled around
Yeah.
the world, like having that freedom. To me, it makes life more interesting. It's more fun. It gives us more freedom. And believe it or not, it's created more inner peace and security with me because I know that I can create anything. So I very rarely go into fear. And when I do, I go, well, am I doing it for the experience or am I doing it because I forgot what's possible?
Or
Because some,
sometimes I'll say, am I picking up on other people? And that is often the answer.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I want people to know that we only suffer for two reasons. One, we've forgotten who we are and how this really works, and that we're these amazing manifestors and creators. Or two, we're choosing to have the experience for the experience. Because we know that in the big picture, we're safe, we're loved, our oversoul is still in beyond this physical realm. So we're safe, we're loved, everything's fine. So we're being actors in plays. Like, oh, I want to try that one out. Oh, I'm going to see how that feels. So we want to have the feelings, we want to have the emotions, we want to have the experience. So those are the two reasons that we suffer. We forget who we are, we've forgotten who we are, or we're doing it to choose for the experience just to see who we are and if we can overcome it or what it feels like, or am I strong enough to get through this? So we're
I
very,
would say karma, but karma is essentially choosing those experiences before we come in.
yeah, if everything, absolutely. I mean, we made a plan before we came here of what we wanted to experience and what we wanted to do here and who we wanted to meet and all that. We still have free will once we're here. We can choose to not do any of it if we want. People that leave the planet feeling totally unfulfilled because they didn't do what they came here to do. But we still have free will. We can navigate it any way we want. So if everything's happening simultaneously, because I do know there are people that, and I'm not bucking anybody's belief systems, anyone's religion, anyone's choices. But if there's no such thing as time over there, if it doesn't exist, there are people that believe that they're being punished for something that they did in, the 1300s or, another lifetime, and now they're having to pay for it. I go, they're all happening simultaneously. What are you paying for? And when you shift, when you shift in this lifetime, it affects all your lifetimes because it's
Yeah,
all
and talking about the Middle Ages, one of my very close friends, one time I had a dream that we were both living in Middle Ages, I guess in like, rustic castles or something, but we could talk with a beam of light back from each other. And we
Mm.
were both doing things with herbs and food in the kitchen, but we could see each other through the windows and we were having this in-depth conversation while we were doing these mundane things, which I thought, wow, what a cool dream.
Nice. Nice. Well, we're having simultaneous experiences, just like there's so many channels to watch on TV now. It's not even funny. But they're all happening at the same time.
Right.
Change the channel to, anyway, other lives, even other lives in this lifetime,
Hmm.
different versions of ourselves in this lifetime on different frequencies.
And different interests, because I'll notice all of a sudden something I will see for a movie to watch is something I was interested in 20 years ago or something. I'm like, oh, that part of me must be back today.
Yeah. See, and I do believe I had a long conversation with David Deutsch, who's a world famous quantum physicist, and his expertise is parallel universes. I
Hmm.
got to meet with him in England for hours and hours, just one on one. And I asked him questions he couldn't even answer. He kept going, I choose not to believe that because otherwise I'll have to change a whole lot of things that I believe in.
I
But
don't think his experience is as wide as yours. He may know more mathematically and scientifically, but he hasn't had nearly the in-depth experiences that you have, just an intuitive read.
no, I totally believe that. He's very scientific, which is great because the information's cool. But he didn't believe that any of our other selves could talk to each other, could communicate. And I went, wait a
Mhm.
second. What about if you're having a memory? How do you know that's not a past you talking to you? Or if you're having an intuition about something in the future where, a desire where you want to go, how do you know that's not a future self talking to you, communicating with you? He didn't want to believe that. But I know that it's all connected. So your
It
soul,
is all connected because I've had like very strong intuitions to go into a store or something. And I was like, oh, I'm dreaming this up. This isn't just happening. This is like, I found something that I've dreamed about or something that I've identified with. And then you get this huge burst of energy if you
yeah.
can hear the part of you from a parallel universe.
Yeah, yeah. So I know this is sometimes overwhelming for people to hear because it's new, because it's more expansive. But the cool thing is, and I mean, I've known this stuff for years. The cool thing is this quantum physics is proving this. It's showing evidence that this stuff is real. Okay. Just entanglement. Entanglement says that a particle, a photon of light or a particle in one part of the universe can affect, and once it's been entangled, once they've been in contact, when something happens to this particle, this one instantly reacts to it, right? Even if they're billions of miles apart, right? So
Mhm.
the entanglement. So somehow it's not traveling faster than thought. It's entangled. They're connected. So
The
they have,
thought is carrying it. It's gotten magnetized to the thought or to the energy. And wherever it senses that, it's going to fly in.
yeah, yeah. So it's all connected. It's all connected. But and they do have evidence that parallel universes exist. If people want to learn more about that, the simple thing to do is go to YouTube and look up Dr. Quantum, the double slit experiment. Okay, it's
I'll
and
look, I'll go see it.
Fred Allen Wolf. He's awesome. He was on my show too. Um, they did the double slit experiment, which proved
Right.
multiverse.
That particles, photons, follow a person's thoughts. They behave the way we expect them to behave.
Yes, yes. They were trying to measure when. It's too long to get into, but it, well, they were sending one photon through a partition through one slit. They sent a photon, a particle of light through, and on the partition on the backside, beyond that, it showed one line of light, right? Then they made double slits in this partition, and they sent one photon through at a time, just one. But then on the back side, on the other side of the partition, it showed up as the interference pattern, which
Right.
means through as a wave. It went light, dark, light, dark, light, dark on the other side. And the only way that could happen is if it went in both slits at the same time, turned into a wave, and then interfered with it on the other side. They do it with water too. Anyway, so they tried to measure when does that one photon become a wave. That's why they said light is both a particle and a wave.
Yeah,
So,
because the waves are becoming particles and the particles are becoming waves.
yeah. And so they went, when did that do it? When did it go from one particle into a full wave superposition and go through both slits at the same time? So they observed it. As soon as they observed it, it stayed a particle. It stayed one photon and went through one. They even put a camera there trying to measure or take pictures of when does it split. And as soon as they did that, as soon as there was an observer, it went only through one slit. So they said, oh my gosh, the consciousness, the observer is affecting this photon.
Just as when we observe ourselves, if you're very emotional or upset and you can observe it, it stops.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, we're creating reality.
Mhm.
And even Einstein said reality is an illusion, albeit a very persistent one.
Right. Particularly when it's physical. Those feel really real. That's what I say.
Yeah. Well, we came here for the experience. We wanted to have the physical experience. So if you go to a movie and you're enjoying the movie, and somebody's sitting next to you that keeps going, hey, this is just a movie, it's not real. Those are just actors. It's like, stop it.
I know. I want to feel it, which
Yeah.
is why there are amusement parks that children love. And children like to be scared and cry and feel all those things. They naturally do.
Some adults do too.
Mhm. What was I? Oh, for people who think that all this is too much, think about the very first plane was what, about 1910, 1920, somewhere in there. And then think the first time that they shot a rocket into space in the 60s. That's like a 50 years, 60 years.
Like even cell phones and sliding doors and Zoom.
Mhm.
I mean, I had my 97-year-old uncle at my home once, and I was talking on Zoom, on Skype, basically, to my sister in Europe, and he couldn't fathom what was happening. He goes, "Is that a movie? Did you film it?" And I go, "No, we're talking live to her." He couldn't fathom how that was happening.
Yeah,
So
my great grandparents, I was lucky to have them for a lot of my life. So they would have been born about 1890. They had long lives, but they thought elevators and escalators were the most amazing things that they had ever seen.
yeah. And now look at the technology. People freak out if they don't have their cell phone with them.
I know.
I was like, just because, and the kids, they just take it off. We all take it for granted right now, and I don't know how it works. I understand telepathy and psychic abilities and being able to communicate remotely and picking up psychic stuff. I understand that more than I do cell phones. How can I talk into my phone and bits? It's like zeros and ones, bits of information fly across to a cell tower and then another cell tower, and it shows up in my sister's phone in Europe, and it's my
Mhm.
voice and it's me talking. It's like, how are they not running into each other? Because they're on different frequencies.
Well, it is pretty amazing. And I mean, think about robotic surgery. I've known a person who had what, a gallbladder and one who had a hernia surgery. And I mean, just almost no recovery time with the new surgeries.
Yeah, yeah. And this sounds like it's off the track, but it is all part of what's coming. People are so going into fear about AI. It's like, oh my gosh, it's going to turn into Terminator and take over. It's like, no, AI is part of what's going to free us up so we don't have to work. So we don't, and so all the menial stuff, the factory, all that stuff, AI can take care of. And if we go into fear, we're going to create fear-based stuff. If we stay into all the amazing things that this could free us up to do, or, service or create on a whole higher level, and even healthcare. It gets
Hmm.
able to diagnose healthcare and, health issues way better. And I even was, I don't know if you've ever tried to mess with Chat GPT. It's amazing. I asked Chat GPT, give me solutions for the water issue on the planet, people not having enough water. And within seconds, it spit out a whole series of things we could do to improve that, or starvation, or the homeless. It spit out a whole bunch of things. I go, wow, it's like a gazillion, it's processing faster than we are.
Well, it's
So,
a great thing to focus your mind on, just looking at it for that reason.
yeah. And I believe ultimately we're going to get beyond technology.
I do too. I
Yeah.
think it will fade out because if you look, I mean, when you were talking about we've had it in societies, a part of me was going like, yep, I had the experience in Egypt. Yep, had the experience in Greece, had the one in Rome, had the one in Italy. I know this one's really different, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Well, I don't believe, I was shocked that Mark Zuckerberg even said that the next technology is telepathy, because I believe that some people, they're using technology to lead them towards being able to do telepathic communication. I mean, we're not going to need technology once we get it, but right now we're having the experience of, oh, cool technology. It's going to look what
Well,
it can do for
the
us.
other thing is love, because if you want to send a positive message or get in touch with someone, the easiest way to do it is to think about what you love about them
Yeah.
and the warmth that you have between yourself and them. And when you focus on that warmth and then focus on your message, most people will get it. If they're in a lower frame of mind, they'll get a mixed message, but people in a higher message will say, I just couldn't stop thinking about you. And I was thinking about this and I had to call you right away.
Yep, that's it. That's it. I'm encouraging people to pay attention to synchronicity now. There's way more synchronicity going on now than ever before. So we know it's shifting, it's lightening up, it's elevating the frequency, the consciousness. And you're right, the key is love. But it's not just love, oh, I feel something about that guy. It's not that kind of love. It's
No,
like it's way bigger than that. It's a sense.
it's universal love. The first thing you do is bring in the universal love. Then you think about sending that universal love to the person, not how much I love you or need you as a person, because that actually pushes the energy away. So I'll say it another way. If you can't find your dog because it's running around wild or your cat, think about universal energy and then how good it feels to hold your cat. They'll come right back for that. Not, I've lost my cat. It needs to come home right now.
Yeah, yeah. It's a grand, we are definitely having a grand experience right now. So we're hoping both, I'm sure you and I both are hoping that people don't go into fear, don't go into
Mm,
struggle, unless you want the experience. And then when
right.
you do that, get over it because all it's oh, okay. Now here's the deal. People have asked me about the future, and you heard me describe the future they showed me, right? The new Renaissance.
Mhm.
However, people have free will and there are parallel universes. So people are going to experience the future that they believe in,
Right.
that they have unconscious beliefs, subconscious beliefs, out loud beliefs, whatever, they're going to experience that. So people that are going to see wars and destruction, whatever, they're going to go into that universe.
Don't be in that movie theater.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So we really do have choice, and fear can draw us into the wrong, I shouldn't say wrong, that type of experience. There's no wrong or right. It's just that's a different experience. So,
I just think you had a great solution with going into Chat GPT and looking up solutions to problems. I think that was just brilliant. Plus, it opened your brain to those possibilities.
yeah, yeah. And I read some of them, like, okay, I had the same thought. And then I read some of them, go, wow, that's a really good idea. I didn't even know they could do that.
Well, that's the thing when it's a good positive idea that's possible, it excites your whole system and puts you in a higher vibration.
Yeah. And I would encourage people to know that their one beingness makes a difference. First of all, they're creating their universe, their experience, their reality, but it also affects everybody else. The more we focus on the positive and uplifting and not going into fear, just going into love and optimism and fun and ease, joy and ease, the more that ripples out to everyone in our universe, whichever parallel universe you're in at the time, they're going to feel that. And it does affect everyone. We are connected. So I don't want people to think that a small little thing, what can I do? I need to have a whole group of people. We need to all meditate together. And I go, well, that's one way to do it, but you can also make a difference. Just
I
you.
think you have to do both.
It's good that we have the choice. It's good
It's
that we,
wonderful that we have the choice. And another thing I do is if I'm stuck or I feel overwhelmed, I'll ask myself, what beliefs am I having right now that are making me feel that way? And then I'll go, okay, so if you shifted to, I can do this, regardless of how it looks, then how would it look? And I'll go, oh, okay, I got it.
there you go. That's easy. We've been trained for so long to fear power because power corrupts and powerful people are, they control and they hurt other people and they're selfish and blah, blah. It's like, oh my gosh. So a lot of people are suppressed or run away from their creative power because they're afraid of it. Right. It's like, no, when you know that you're loving and you have good intentions, you won't limit your power so much because you can learn to trust yourself more.
That's
But
such an important point that you're making. And here's the other thing is if you make a mistake, the more you do this work and the more you create, the faster you can change it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I believe that everybody has good in them. I believe that when people do destructive behavior, it's because they're scared or they hurt themselves. It always comes from fear. So the more we can not feed fear and feed love and optimism and trust and faith and know that we're creating, the more we're going to create that. And if you want to say, then the masses will shift that way too. It tips the scales.
And I think this is something I come back to, and I have to look at myself sometimes with this is we tend to think we're in control when things aren't changing, but the opposite is really sort of the truth.
Yeah,
Like I want to feel safe, so this can't change.
right. Right. You know what? Here's the bottom line. I think we're very adventurous souls. I feel like we're very courageous souls because you didn't have to come have this physical experience. You wanted to have it. So that's
Right.
courageous because it's challenging here. At
It's challenging.
the same time, it can be fun. You know, if
Hmm.
you don't like the movie you're watching, go to a different theater and watch a different movie. Or now you don't even have to go to a different theater. You just walk next door, in the
Or
same building.
especially when more people are in a higher vibration and a loving vibration, everything will start to be fun.
That's it. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. Life is really fascinating. So I'm going to tell people I trust your soul knows what it's doing. So if you listen
Hmm.
to your soul, not the outside, not the chaos that's out there, if you listen to your soul, it's going to guide you right towards what it is you came here to do and right towards joy and love and peace and inner harmony, all of that. And if you go into like some people like to what, do scary things or go into jungles where there's poisonous animals, whatever. They like the adventure. So if you're having something going on that you don't like, get the juice out of it. Have the adventure. Go for it full out. And then when you're done with it, and then you can shift to another channel.
Yeah, you can. So we're coming to the end. Is that your closing thought, or did you want to add something else to that, Pam?
Oh, goodness. I do want people to know I have courses out there that teach people how to do all this. So they can go to my website at auracolors.com and I have my Quantum Leap course where I teach people how to do this, and it's easy, you guys. It's easy. Don't be afraid of it. It's easy. It's fun. Makes everything more fun, more expansive, more freedom, and definitely more love, more compassion, more love. Because happy people and people that feel safe are safe to be around. Scared people and suppressed people are not that safe to be around. So allow
Or
yourself.
not, no fun.
Yeah, you're beautiful. You're loved. You're an infinite soul. As long as you're here, have the adventure.
And so happy adventures. I'm Julia Griffin. You can find me at onetrueself.com, onetrueself.com. And I hope to see you again in a couple weeks. Pam, thank you so much for being with us. It's a pleasure.
Julia, thanks for having topics like this out in the ethers. I really appreciate you.
You're very welcome. Namaste.
Thank you for listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin to master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Join us next time as Julia takes us deeper into the memory of the moments of light where transcendence and enlightenment emerge. The memory of the jewel of consciousness is always lived within you to tap into waves of energy and create huge changes by imagining the beauty of the vision and desires that are hidden in the heart. Learn to find your way back to nature, beauty, and your own heart, which holds the secrets of your existence and future. To discover more about Julia's adventures, animal communication, and the teachings she brings to every show, visit onetrueself.com. That's onetrueself.com. That's ONE, trueself.com.